Since the beginning of the national lockdown 3 months ago, at least 10 people have died at the hands of law enforcement. Ntando Skhosana has become the poster picture for police brutality during the COVID-19 pandemic. Will the victims' families ever see justice for their deaths?
Ambitious,
This, while the Defence Forces Board of Inquiry investigation is under fire for breaking the law.
Why did the Defence Force not, as the law requires, subpoena the available witnesses and have them testify?
The police investigation on some of its members' alleged brutality remains sketchy, amid calls for more civilian oversight over South Africa's security forces.
We can only hope that they are in fact committed to giving the families and victims the closure that they deserve.
It's nearly 3 months since the country woke up to the shocking news that Alexandra resident, Ntando Skhosana, died after members of the security forces had assaulted him at his home. His family is picking up the pieces of his alleged vicious killing.
Ambitious, baba unclean. Nyanyuma police, unclean. Here, Anishaisa. That's why ninga clean. And clearly, and then ni bona sweswininga kwala ni voni nga ku ni to vona nghena ni twa ku vava.
Khosa is the most widely known alleged victim of the overzealous security forces deployed to curb the spread of the coronavirus. 10 more victims allegedly lost their lives as a result of the police brutality. Civil society is concerned about due process on these cases. In the Khosa matter, the Minister of Defence made contradictory statements to Parliament regarding whether the board's report was final or preliminary.
The debate might get exciting. I just want to...
Even though the matter is also currently being criminally investigated by the police, the board absolves the soldiers of any liability, rejecting the post-mortem report conclusion that the cause of death was blunt force head trauma because it was conducted by a junior, unsupervised registrar. They admitted a contradictory pathologist report that found minor injuries. The board also points to clashing witness statements, even though the family's account of the event was never sought, except for taking their statements from the police docket.
Such an incorporation of statements is not permitted unless either the witness is not available, there's no funds available to have the witness testify, or a particular witness is simply going to make a statement of a formal nature. Neither of those three exceptions were applicable in this case. So it begs the question, why did the Defence Force not, as the law requires, subpoena the available witnesses and have them testify?
What Minister said is a disgrace to the nation, and it was insult to the family and community of Alexandra. Anirko, leswi va nga mi byisa swo va mu bini swinene, so loko minister ako a hi vona va nga mu dlaya se hina a hi swi twisisi ku kahle ku humelela yini.
The implicated soldiers declined an offer to tell their side of the story.
They only interviewed their own soldiers. So they interviewed their own soldiers and found themselves not guilty. Whereas the statements filed by the family members, I was present when those statements were taken, and they confirm what he said in our High Court papers that was never denied by any of the ministers, that Ntando Skhosana was beaten to death by the soldiers. The report blames gender inequality and provocation for the soldiers' conduct, and then only say that the soldiers merely pushed and clapped Collins and his brother-in-law, which is ridiculous.
But due to suspicions around the regularity of this investigation, DA Shadow Minister of Defence and Military Veterans, Kobus Maree, lodged a complaint with the military ombudsman.
It was clear that it was a rush job. It was clear to me that they were trying to exonerate the Defence Force plus the soldiers involved from any wrongdoing. It is clearly unacceptable, and for me, It is a disgrace on how the Parliament was ignored, and it was certainly tried to sweep this under the carpet.
Hi ku ya hi hina case leyi ya Collins I think a va yi hlekeli nhlokweni. Hi ku ya hi mina a va endli leswi a va fane va endla ku lavisisa. Hi ku ya hi hina I think va lo byela ku case leyi ita nyamalala ku fana na ti-case tin'wana.
On the police side, more questions are asked about whether justice will eventually prevail on this matter. It is alleged that part of the crucial evidence has been tampered with.
The allegations from the witnesses that on the day of Collins's killing, they took videos of their cell phones, and once the members of JMPD and the soldiers saw them, they went to confiscate the phones. In some instances, they broke the phones. But those witnesses have not received their phones back. Others have received their phones back, but the videos are deleted.
Despite a finding that even though they didn't participate in the assaults, they stood and failed to intervene to protect the victims during the assault. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate has only recommended an internal disciplinary charges for negligence and contravention of regulations against members of the JMPD and SABC, respectively. This is despite the requirements of the Prevention and Combating of Torture and Persons Act, which makes them complicit.
It's as if government is paying lip services to our rights and to the judgment and just sort of complying to keep everyone happy, but they are ignoring the fact that their own personnel killed someone and personnel from another unit saw the killing.
Both IPID and the Military Board of Inquiry's credibility and independence have been questioned, because not only do they structurally report to their respective minister, but most of their officials are also within the ranks of the security forces.
We don't believe that the military ombud is the suitable organization to investigate this matter. The judge, in fact, in the Collins Khoza judgment, said that the military ombud, by the nature of its appointment through the Minister of Defence, can never be an objective body to investigate this kind of incident.
The Defence Department and the military ombud are yet to respond to these allegations. Colin's mother says she wants justice for her son.
Alaya mahlweni vanhu lava ani lava khomiwa hambi u ka nga ha vuyi n'wana wa mina vona ani lava ku va khomiwa aka n'wana wa mina loko ku ri a wu nga ri vona a nga ta va file n'wana wa mina a ta va a ri kona se a swi ni khomi kahle ni twa ku vava swinene.
Recently, the killing of US citizen George Floyd sparked worldwide outrage against racist police brutality through the Black Lives Matter protests. But the seeming insincerity by South African authorities towards human rights abuses globally, while neglecting similar issues locally, raised the ire of citizens. They argued Khoza and other victims deserve similar levels of outrage and action. President Cyril Ramaphosa later expressed regret for the alleged killings of people during the lockdown, including Khoza, 3 months after it happened.
The death of Collins Khoza and 10 other South Africans reportedly at the hands of our security forces during COVID-19 is something that I deeply regret. I regret it because as we introduced or imposed the lockdown, I specifically spoke to our security forces and said that they must go out amongst our people with love in their hearts and must not treat fellow South Africans as the enemy. Now, unfortunately, to my deepest regret, a number of our compatriots have lost their lives. And that is something that really saddens me.
But the family is aggrieved by this late gesture, which they believe was a result of pressure from the public.
hi ku ya hi mina a ni swi tivi no swi tiva ku kahlekahle Ramaphosa a swi tiva ku na rifu ra Ntando Skhosana loyi a nga dlayiwa hi masole, cause since Ntando a dlayiwe hi ti 10 ta April Ramaphosa a nga se tshama a vulavula chumu hi Ntando. I sungule ku vulavula sweswi ku dlayiwa Flawed America. Se hina a hi swi twisisi ku kahlekahle a ku ta humelela yini, a ta za a vulavula hi Ntando hi rifu ra Ntando if Flawed vanhu la handle va lo yima hi milenge, nation hinkwayo va lo yima hi milenge va lwela Flawed. So if vanhu a va yimangi hi milenge, President Ramaphosa a ta apologize hi masoja ku va dlaye Ntando na a ta za a vulavula hi swona.
Away from the spotlight is the family of 23-year-old Ntando Skhosana, who also died allegedly as a result of police action after he reported being assaulted on his way home.
Sengimbona sengena uyaqhuka hawumuntu ngathi ushayiwe kwenze njani iswena ngitshela athi ke hayi naba amaphoyisa angisukela ngaphandle athi ngizenza uclever wayingabaleki lokhaneni nyama uthi ngizobaleka kanjani enemy saqeda ukufasa in icathulo yana sending ngifasa in icathulo mathi ngiyabheka ngibona imoto iyama imoto enjani wathi lokho yani kube nje igolf emhlophe lama latest in igolf lemhlophe neven kwaphuma in i2 elokhujaneni kwaphuma i2 ku golf evenini nalabavula amaphoyisa agqoke uniform yana send eza kimi isweni bangishaya yana send ngihamba ngithi ngiyabaleka lo munye oqala wangishaya nge2 feet wathi ngiyakuphi yana send ngiyabaleka ngizenza uclever.
Ntando says at the time he didn't think his son's injuries were severe.
Ngithi zamphuza amanzi ngoba ngathi ulalokho amakhulumi uyabambeka ngathi phuza amanzi athi phuza amanzi afika amanzi athi kunzima uthi angathi ubuhlungu kanjani ngithi ke thatha awarm umnezi in amanzi awarm you understand from there mayise ubeka awaphuze kancane kancane sekusixoxa athi ubeka in iglass angathi ipeni ngathi cishe liwe ngithi akwazi nokuthena ngithi yini athi kubhlungu la ngasintamo mangithena nangentamo kanjani emzimba ngithi okay ngithi manje into esizoyithini ke athi ke ithi kusasa ngithi ayingcono vuka yabo doctor yana futhi ngiyithatha light because angiboni akukho ukuthi ke bleed just nje ukuthi umpunga etsweni nandi lokujaneni into nje ukuthi ngathi khona into impama something.
He says his son went to the clinic the next morning and was given pain medication. Despite this, the pain worsened. But on the morning of the 19th of April, Ntando's grandmother made an unexpected call.
Mase ngiya athi ayihamba ubona lapha erumini ngiyovula erumini lakhe ngimthola uNtando akasekho sekashonile.
Here too, the family complains about the response of the police.
On the day that his son died, he tried to report it to the police. Police said no, it's a natural death. He must call an undertaker. Undertaker arrived. They explained the causes of his death to the undertaker. Undertaker said it's definitely not a natural cause. It must be reported to police. Luckily, the undertaker then phoned a senior police officer that agreed to come out to the house, which he did. And only 4 hours later did the state mortuary come in to collect the body. So since early in the morning, for probably 7-8 hours, the poor dead son was lying on his bed with the police not doing anything about it. Once the police actually started investigating it, it turned into a cross-examination of the father and the mother, accusing them of lying about what happened to the son and making the police look bad and threatening them if they persist with the case.
The family says it's preparing a civil claim against the Minister of Police following the lack of responsiveness on the part of his officials.
Ngifile ukuthi because umntwana ngoko wami maybe ngabathi ukuthi umntwana wablaba abaphezulu abasiphethe bekuzoba icase izoba right because umntwana wami umntwana for sure womuntu lo kunjani understand low class or whatever if ever they can regard me as low class but low class ayikho into ezolokhunjani ezoyenziwa.
Ntando says he doesn't know whether the police officers who allegedly killed his son have been identified or arrested yet.
The IPID is nowhere to be found now. Ngizobuza bani. Ngabuza ngeke ngibuza amaphoyisa lo kade investigator IO yathi yona ke isiphumile caseini yanyenze IPID nayo umuntu uthulile ugcina efonele yimi kodwa wathi yimi ke uzofuna ifile khona uzongitshela mase ukhuja nefile kaNtando ugcina efonela yimi lapho sengizakhona ukuthi ifile set ku district I don't know ukuthi district lenzani in file ukuthi kwenziwa ini angizazi lezo zinto lezo.
He called the IPID investigator in our presence, but was surprised to learn that not much had happened with the investigation since April when his son died.
Yes, so bengibuza nje ukuthi ke ngoba ugcine utheke ifile liku district kanjani ugcine kwenzakala kanjani?
Yazi ngiselifini kwamanje ne.
Yeah.
Letter and then the day you deliver with district yakhumbula ilesikhathi lockdown, so I couldn't deliver the letter ne.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another moment in Selifini, I'm coming back Espaneni ngechuza ka July ne.
Okay, man ayatholakala kuyazama ukutholakala lamaphoyisa lawo.
Kwamanje si sende iletter to abantu bezoko nje nebe AVL. So salindile ukuthi ba responde nabo sibone ukuthi eziphi imoto bezilapha.
Okay. Okay, akunankinga bengifuna ukwazi nje ngoba ngibona ukuthi kuthulekile ngithi hayi awuthi ngithi ngibusisise yabo.
Okay, no ukuthi nje akakabi namanye development.
For the investigator from IPID not to keep the family up to date or contact them, but then go and leave and go on holiday whilst a son has died at the hands of police. There's a family hurting for answers which they're simply not getting. And that goes back to what Judge Fabricio said in the Khoza case, that the public have lost trust in the government and its institutions. And it's exactly for this reason where I can see why public don't trust police or IPID anymore.
I don't respect police much. According to myself, I don't respect police. It's because lo muntu oyipolice othe ukuthi uzoprotecta wena akusumuntu ufune kumsabi. You understand? Because since kwenzeka leyo nto leyo abantwana noma kudlula imoto yakho yanini la emaphoyisa bayabaleka. Because it's regard now ukuthi ke iphoyisa umuntu ozokushaya ukuthi ke nje unuku. So mina amaphoyisa ngokukhona angeke ngitshele mawuzongitshela nje ukuthi ngitshela ngephoyisa angathi ngitshela ngenye into mina. I don't respect anymore iphoyisa.
In 2012, South Africa suffered a serious blight to its human rights record following the death of striking miners in Marikana. Some of the issues of contention during the Farlam Commission into the killings were questions about whether the police had exceeded the bounds of self and private defense, and whether the principle of proportionality as well as gradual, reasonable, and minimal force to defuse the situation was applied.
There are definitely lessons to learn from Marikana, and what Marikana brought into sharp focus are a complex array of issues that continue to plague the police. These issues include, problems with training, with preparation, with the role of leadership, with the kinds of weapons that the police are armed with. And what the Farlam Commission of Inquiry recommended was that an expert panel be established to look into policing and crowd management.
8 years after Marikana, the country has once again woken up to allegations of the disproportionate use of force, leading to the death of some people, the last eventuality to be expected during a global health crisis.
We have to remember it is almost always undesirable for the Defence Force to be deployed in civilian circumstances. And in this specific case, the High Court judge in the Khoza judgment found that the military made the mistake of deploying its members in specifically Alexandra Township with extreme prejudice instructions, as if the civilians were the enemy, which in fact, of course, it is not. They should have been deployed with the instruction that these are our citizens, let's protect them.
Even more concerning are questions about whether the alleged victims will ever find justice, considering the concerns that some have raised about the investigations into their tragedies. The Marikana victims are yet to find justice and closure.
Being deployed in civilian circumstances such as these is part of the military training. However, if a member of the SANDF does not conduct him or herself in accordance with his training, then that person is going to have to face the consequences. Sandu's only desire in outcome in this case is that fairness and justice occurs, fairness and justice to the cause of family, and that the culprits who is responsible, if there is anybody found to be responsible, receive a fair hearing and be pursued to the full extent of the law.
Hopefully the military ombudsman will make sure that we get a proper investigation and at least get a proper finding and a reputable and a credible finding in terms of what happened in the Defence Force. Yes, we know that the police is still investigating the case, so the military ombudsman and the Defence Force will know that if there's contradictory findings, it will just tarnish the image and the integrity of the minister, the leadership of the Defence Force, and the Defence Force itself even further. So it is very important that we get to a point where everybody is in agreement of what happened, what is the findings, who did what wrong, and who are the people to be held accountable for what happened.
The military ombudsman said he couldn't avail himself for an interview, but would make a public announcement once he has finalized the investigation into the Khosa case. In a previous interview with Morning Live, he said he had received 52 complaints relating specifically to incidents during the lockdown, 30 of which were from the public about abuse and corruption.
Is the turnaround time in terms of the information that we require, not only from members of the party, but also from the SABC itself, It really constrains the speed with which we can do our investigation. Things are not happening in the normal way they should be happening. So therefore, because outside the lockdown, we're able to make sure that we send our investigators to this area to follow up on the information that we require and all that. But in the circumstances of the lockdown, sometimes it is difficult to do that.
While it continues to investigate the killings, IPID said it remains committed to its independent oversight role.
IPID remains committed to its investigative oversight body responsibility, and as such, it discharges its duties independently, without fear, without favor.
We know that IPID has long battled with being under-resourced and under-capacitated and insufficiently independent. The new IPID Amendment Bill has taken a step in the right direction in terms of addressing this lack of independence, but really the issues at IPID are deeply systemic. At its core, IPID cannot manage its massive caseload, and Viewfinder's expose towards the end of last year indicated that, in fact, IPID investigators were prematurely closing cases. And this was happening across the country. At first, IPID came out and said that this was not happening, but then they had to come out and say, in fact, that they did find that that was happening across the country. This premature closure of cases is essentially when IPID investigators close cases by manipulating the case management system in order to boost its performance figures. And so those issues at IPID are deep-seated, and really what IPID does need is sufficient resources and sufficient capacity in order to effectively carry out its investigations independently without undue influence from the police in any way.
Busiso Amos case is still on the court roll, and this matter is set to appear in court on the 7th of July 2020. And then we also have got the Petrus Miguel's case, and then the investigation of this particular case is complete. And there's also the Adon Emmanuel case. This case is still under investigation. The Ntando Skhosana case has been investigated, and it has been completed. The investigation to this matter is complete, it's done.
The real numbers of actual victims of security forces alleged brutality are yet to be known, victims and survivors. But what is undisputable is the fact that most of the victims are poor and black. What does this say about our young democracy based on the foundations of human rights and dignity?